and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be speaking about some of the best Christmas ideas for gardeners that I can think of to help you out in Christmas shopping for a loved one or close friend who likes gardening. So make sure you go down below before the video starts and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, as well as the little bell icon so you're notified next time I upload a video. Also, most of the products in this video I talk about will be linked down below, so make sure you go and check those out. And the first thing that I think a gardener would appreciate is your time. So rather than giving a material thing, so something that you could buy, why not go and help them out in their garden? And especially at the moment, a garden is the perfect place to social distance. So why not go and give them a hand? Maybe they need some hands with weeding, or maybe clearing some plants, just like all of these runner beans. And I think they'd really appreciate that. So if you don't want to go and buy something, why not offer some of your time to go and help your friend or loved one in their own garden, where you can go and weed, plant, or even clear out, as I just said. So the first real product that I think I'm going to recommend as a Christmas present is a good hand tool. You can buy them a really nice hand tool. It could be a fork, a trowel, or maybe even a good pair of secateurs. And this one here that I've got, this is a compost trowel, which is really good. It's a stainless steel one, wooden handled, and it's really good for getting compost out of a deep compost bag, and it's really good to be able to put it into a potting tray. And actually, this one is Spear & Jackson. I'm not endorsing any of these. I'm not actually advertising any of them. So this is all just my personal experience. And Spear & Jackson is a really good brand from my experience. So the next idea is a good pair of gardening gloves. And a lot of people don't like to actually garden with gloves on. They like to do it barehanded, but there will always be something that they need gloves for, like thorny woods, maybe pruning roses or something. And a good brand that I've found is called Gold Leaf Gloves, and they make leather gloves, and I had their soft touch model, and I'm not sponsored by these again, and they were really comfortable, and they didn't ever get spiked or nettle stings or anything. But also, some people prefer to have a bit more dexterity in their gloves, so that's why for them I'd recommend a rubber and fabric glove. Another idea is that you could get them a really high-end, good quality tool, just like this stirrup hoe that I've got. I made a video about this comparing it to the Dutch hoe a few months ago now, and that did really well. And I've had a few hundred views on that, which I'm really happy with. And this is really good just for weeding between rows and things like this, where normally you'd have to get down on your hands and knees, so you can just do it like this and get all of the hoeing done. And here, this is just between rows, or between plantings. You can also do it between the rows of the same plant. Now, another thing you could get is maybe a good spade and a good fork, or a good rake or something like that. Just something that will really aid the person that you'll get buying for in the garden in that growing year. You could also get someone a really good wheelbarrow, just like the one in the shots then, which is a bucket barrow. You could also get them good buckets, depending on the size of their garden. And this could really help someone with moving heavy things around the garden, like compost bags, big rocks, concrete, things like that. Just to move stuff around the garden a lot easier without doing their back in or hurting any part of their body. They can just use this and use their knees to lift it up, and they won't need to hurt themselves or strain themselves at all to lift heavy things. So a wheelbarrow is a really good option. It's also a little bit expensive, and with the bucket barrow here, it's also got buckets that fit right inside this area here, to make sure that you can carry things in smaller compartments, so if you want to carry more than one thing at a time. And something, if you're planning on spending a little bit more money, is maybe an ornament for the garden or garden furniture that lets them sit back and enjoy all of their hard work. And you could also get them things like bee houses, bird houses, bird feeders, a bird bath maybe. These are all good examples, or maybe even a table and chairs for the garden, or a barbecue and a table and chairs, so that maybe they'll invite you over for a barbecue and then your gift will give back to you. So my next idea for you is actually gardening books, and I've got some of my favourite ones here to show you and to speak you through. So my first one is Charles Dowding's Veg Journal, and if your gardening friend or whatever is no dig gardener, this is especially helpful. But even if you're not no dig, this is really good. It's got things like it shows you how to do certain things in the garden, and it also speaks about things like jobs for the month. So if you're ever stuck for things to do in the month and you haven't already watched my jobs for the month videos, then there'll be great stuff in this book. And the next book is Veg in One Bed by Hugh Richards, and this is actually good if your friend or loved one is new to gardening, or they've got a small space, or both, because this speaks about how you can garden in a small space, and it's got a really good planting plan for the whole year for your first season, and I think this would be really helpful for any new gardener, especially with a small space, as I said. And the next one is by far my all-time favourite, which is Practical Self-Sufficiency by Dick and James Strawbridge. And this, if you ever want a book that tells you everything about being a smallholder, a gardener, or poultry or animal keeper or anything, it's this book, because it shows you literally everything. It's got loads of cooking and baking recipes, it's got stuff about animal keeping, as I said, and gardening. It's just got everything. So for example, this page, it's got stuff about a sustainable suburban plot and things. So this I would definitely recommend, and as I said, all of these will be linked down below. And if the person you're buying for isn't as interested in vegetable things like with those books are, then you could get something like this, like Monty Don's Down to Earth, which does talk quite a lot about like flower and ornamental gardening, as well as a bit of design and a bit of vegetable gardening as well. So this one could be really useful if your loved one isn't really into all of the sustainability, self-sufficiency, sustainability, and like vegetable growing and stuff. You could get them this one. And another idea for you is a seed box. And this is great because if they've got a lot of seed packets, and I know from my experience, it can get quite confusing because, for example, on my shelf here, I've got loads of envelopes of seeds that I've saved that I'm yet to put into my seed box. And it's really good for organising your seeds, because when it comes to ordering seeds for the next year, a lot of seeds do store over the year and over the winter. So it's good to know what you have and haven't got, to know what you need to buy for the next year. And mine actually, excuse the mess, is quite messy at the moment and not really organised. So that's one of my jobs for this winter, and I can do a video about that if you're interested. But one of these I would highly recommend for any new gardener or even experienced gardener if they haven't already got one, because it's just really nice having organised seeds and knowing what you have and haven't got ready for the year. And what I'll also link down below is these seed envelopes, which I've got, which are really good for when you've saved your own seeds, and they just a lot neater than, like, for example, when I just put them in normal envelopes like this. So I'll link them down below as well. But then you don't have to have them, but you can just use normal envelopes, but it's just another option for you. Another option, slightly on the topic of books, is a subscription to a magazine or gardening magazine. So you could buy it for the year or a month or something, because magazines, they often hold a lot of information that's seasonal specific and month specific, so they can be really helpful when you're starting out. And they've also got a lot of gardening products advertised and a lot of good gardening news in there. And a lot of them also often come with free seeds, which you could store in your seed box. And lastly, for the ideas indoors now, is one of these, which I got as a present, and it's actually really useful, especially with houseplants as well. So if you're then new to houseplants or keeping plants inside, this is really useful. And what this is a soil tester. So you can test for moisture, light, or pH. And the light is quite useful as well with windowsills, to figure out what windowsill will be best for a plant. So it's got this little sensor on it, and it tells you how light it is on this gauge. So I think for pH you have to leave it in the soil for about 10 minutes, and then it'll tell you a rough pH for what your soil is. And then moisture, you can put it in and straight away you get a reading, and that's really helpful, as I said, for when you're keeping plants in a greenhouse or inside a house in a windowsill, especially over winter when you're, for example, overwintering peppers. It's really useful to know when you need to water them. So thank you so much for watching this video all about my favourite ideas for gardening Christmas gifts for your friend or maybe your loved one or family member. So make sure, before you finish and go off to someone else's video, make sure you go down below, hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a comment letting me know what you thought of my ideas. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.